Hello and welcome to another episode of Relationships Rule. Today, I'm quite excited because I've got two people to interview and not just one, so it's kind of fun. What if the most important business relationship you ever built was one you were born into? Today, I'm talking with sisters Amy and Nancy Harrington, co-founders of the Passionista Project, a global community podcast and annual summit dedicated to amplifying the voices of women and gender nonconforming, non-binary people from all walks of life. Together, I think it's together, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, they have conducted over 1,700 interviews, built a sisterhood that spans the globe, and proven that when you lead with genuine connection and authentic storytelling, remarkable things happen. We're going to talk about how their relationship with each other became the foundation for everything that they have built, how storytelling creates the kind of connection that lasts, and how they keep things genuinely human as their community continues to grow. Amy and Nancy, welcome to Relationships Rule.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We're really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Before we get into everything that you've built together, I want to start at the beginning because I want to know what it was like growing up as sisters. Were there any early signs that you would one day run a business together?
I don't think we ever knew about the business part of it, but I will tell you about our magical childhood because it was magical, I think.
Oh, that's special. Yeah.
Yeah, the first, one of my very first memories as a child was I was about 4 years old. And I remember having a conversation with my mother where I told her that I was going to go to kindergarten next year. And I think that you should have another baby to keep you company while I'm away at school. And 9 months later, Amy was born.
Oh my goodness. Little did you know. Uh-huh.
Little did I know. And she was my best friend from the moment she arrived. I remember the day we picked her up at the hospital. I remember, it's
Aw.
and there are five children in our family, and we are all very, very, very close, and we love each other, and we're best friends. But Amy and I have a very special bond, and yeah, from the day she was born, we have been best friends. Our family life was very artistic. Our parents met at art school, and so we were surrounded by art and music and theater and books,
Mhm.
and um, our vacations were spent going to different museums and going to see plays and musicals. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful childhood. Not all peachy keen, obviously, everybody has stuff, but the majority of it was lovely. And our relationship has always been special, but we were well into adulthood before we ever had the idea of working together.
Yeah, you had separate careers for sure in the same industry. Were you in LA? Did you grow up in LA?
No, we're from a town called Braintree, Massachusetts. It's about half an hour south of Boston. Historical town where John Adams and John Quincy Adams and Sylvanus there were all born there.
Mm.
And so when I graduated from college, Nancy and I both went to BU, to Boston University. The day after I graduated, I went downstairs and said, okay, someone's going to take me to buy a car tomorrow because I'm moving to California next week and I need to
Really?
drive cross country. And so our other sister and I drove to California and she flew back and I stayed out here by myself for 10 years and Nancy stayed back in Boston.
Wow.
And she had her own uh, uh, graphic design business and theater company. I got into film and television out here, and we would talk every week and we would go on vacations together every chance we got. And every conversation, I would be like, you should really move to California. And after 10 years, I wore her down and she came up and she moved to LA with her husband and we
Oh, wow.
for a long time, all of
Yeah,
us.
that's great. So, um, going into business with a sibling is something a lot of people would be very nervous about. How did you figure out how to separate the sister relationship from the business relationship, or did you even have to?
I don't think we ever
No.
did. Yeah.
It would be possible.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just flows, right? It just flows.
Our dad had his own advertising agency, and our mom worked for him, and our sister worked for him, and I worked for him for a while, and I certainly worked with him. Wasn't always an employee, but because I studied graphic design, I was there a lot and used his equipment, and
Yeah,
so family business was kind of in our blood.
sure. That
Um,
makes sense.
And I was always an entrepreneur. I always had, from the day I graduated from college, I started my own graphic design business right away. And I have had very few years in my life where I've had a boss. So I've always been an entrepreneur. Amy went the corporate route in the studio system.
Yeah.
But so to me, it was kind of a given, like, oh yeah, of course,
Sure, why
families
not?
work together, you
Yeah.
know. It was a little bit of more of a stretch for Amy and a little bit bigger leap for her
Yes,
to,
I'm sure.
you know.
So,
But at the same time, I had been in this kind of literally, you know, what you hear about Hollywood can be true. It's dog eat dog.
yeah,
And I hit the point where I just really didn't trust many people that I was working with. And so when Nancy suggested that we work together, it was like, oh, I can work every day with the one person that I trust the most on the
Yeah.
planet. Okay,
yeah,
we'll
why
figure
not?
out what that looks like. But yes,
Okay.
I need that in my life.
So, when you were, I just want to remind myself that I got it in the right. I just want to read this because I want to make sure that I've got it right. The Harringtons have conducted over 17 interviews for their podcast website and clients, including roughly 70 oral histories for the Television Academy Foundation, with figures like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Susie Orman, and Lucy Lawless. There's a lot of names here that are very exciting and so forth. But what I want to understand is you didn't do those interviews together, or you did?
Some of them we did.
Yeah, some of them. Some of them happened, Amy, I think for you when you were still, no, it was when you guys were
No.
with the Television Academy then, not when you were with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, when I was at Warner Brothers, I was vice president of post-production and visual
Post-production.
effects for the feature films. So I worked on the Matrixes and Harry Potters and
Wow. Yeah.
bunch of Batmans and things like that, 250 movies.
Wow.
Nancy and I, when we weren't off to work together, we did a bunch of different things and we ultimately became interviewers. And we did that and still do for our own website, for the Television Academy,
Got
for
it.
clients. And besides the Television Academy interviews, which we trade off, one of us does one, the other one does the next one. Every other interview we've ever done, unless one of us has been sick or tied up, taking care of something else, every other interview we've done together. So we've done 1,650 interviews together. And
So I have to ask the question now because I'm such a starstruck kind of person, and pop culture person. So when you said when you did those interviews and you took turns going one from the other, did anybody ever negotiate? No, please, I want to interview this one.
I feel like there were a couple that, Amy, that you were like, I really want to do that one. And but generally the client will call us and say, Amy, we want you to do this one. And
okay.
Do this one.
That's cool.
Every once in a while, somebody will, rally for one.
Okay, yeah.
There was a day that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame called us and said, I'm coming to, I know you guys want to do everything together, but I'm going to need you to split up because I have 2 interviews in one day and I'm going to need you to split up. And one of them was with a rock star that we can't say the name.
Okay.
The other one was Mick Jagger.
Oh my God.
And it was like
why would that one need to remain
exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, it tells you the 2 kind of people we were.
Yeah, it does.
The other one, I would say he was not Mick Jagger, but he was pretty.
It was huge.
Too.
It was huge.
Yeah.
But they said the names, and in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna die if I don't do Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
But it was one of those like, I'm going to let it unfold because I'm sure Nancy feels the same way. Sure. And it unfolded in a way that it was like, I get to go to part of the other one and then I get to go produce the Mick Jagger interview. We didn't conduct the interview, but we were in the room with Mick Jagger. And it was like, Okay. That was one
And
problem.
honestly, I took the step back and let her take the step forward to Mick Jagger because I didn't want to miss the chance to meet him, but I was so intimidated by the idea of producing that shoot by myself
Wow.
that I was like, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause
So, but I did get to go at the very, very tail end and see him. So
funny.
that was,
Well, I
yeah.
did want to get that all in perspective because you having done that many interviews,
Mhm.
I want to ask you, what have all those conversations taught you about what people actually need in order to feel truly connected to someone? You know, when we're doing these interviews, I noticed for myself, I'm not interviewing Mick Jagger, but I've got these famous people on the call right now who know these famous people. Anyway, I feel that it's the time when I go, as you would say, off script that makes it more connected for me and hopefully for my guests. So I want to ask you what you have to say about those things.
Yeah. Is it my turn, Amy? Yeah. Um, I have a few things. One is, we were actually at an event this weekend, and
Exactly the story I was going to tell.
we went to see a potential candidate for Lieutenant Governor of California speak, and she was fabulous. We didn't know anything about her. A friend of ours invited us. We walked in, beautiful home in the Palisades, 40 people in the room. And she spoke for about half an hour, and Amy and I were standing there and listening to her very intently. And at the end of the evening, we got to walk over and talk to her. And she was like, I just wanted to thank you two ladies. She said, my eyes just kept going right to you because you were so attentive and you were smiling and you made me feel so comfortable. And I said to her, well, that's because we're interviewers. That's our interviewing skill. Because
Wow.
one of the things the archival interviews have taught us is when you do an archival interview, it's very important not to talk over the person because part of the process is you want to be able to take what they say and pull it out and use it for other things. So you don't want to talk over them. It's not like a lot of podcasts, it's not a conversation. It's really you ask the question, you let them answer the question. But you want them to know that you're listening, that you're paying attention, that you're engaged. It's not just I'm reading questions off the thing, you answer it, and then I go to the next question. So we naturally now, when we talk to someone, when we're listening to someone, we nod our heads, we smile, we make eye contact. So it really is this thing that makes the person you're sitting across from feel comfortable and welcome and open to sharing. And so that's definitely one of the skills that we have learned through this. And I forget what I was going to say, the other one. You probably remember, Amy.
I mean, I have a couple. One is, and I think that the Nancy's talking about the visual kind of encouragement, right? But also we're genuinely curious people and we're genuinely interested. We get really sucked into what people are sharing with us and are grateful and humbled by the fact that people are willing to share this with us. And so it starts off as like, I need to smile and nod, but it's actually really genuine. Like we really feel like,
Yeah.
oh my God, tell me more. I want to know more, you know? And I think being prepared, letting people know that you've done the research in a way that's not like, oh, I'm going to tell you your life story because I did the research, but like asking a question that they might go, oh, wow, you really had to read up on me to know that. And the other really important lesson that we've learned from the archive interviews is it starts with their childhood, like you did today.
Mm.
And the second you get someone in that headspace where they're thinking of their childhood, whether there was a good or bad childhood is irrelevant, like it opens them up. It's almost like a therapy session. Like I almost cried 5 times in the first 3 minutes of this interview because it took me back to this really beautiful time. And then now I'm just open. Now it's like, oh, I want to share more. And so giving people those memories to kind of crack them open, I think helps a lot too.
Wow, there's so much there because thank you, ladies, both of you for that. Because um, I knew when I first had the intro chat with you guys that we were kindred because I had no trouble talking to you at all. I've got this celebrity thing that is really embarrassing sometimes because I love that whole Hollywood thing. It takes me back actually to when my parents lived there and I used to go visit, and I think that's why. But
Love it too.
yeah, but like, so much is going on in my head right now. Okay, so um I think that you said so many things. You said you have natural curiosity, which I do too. You said being well prepared. And for some reason, I think I let this one slide and I didn't get well prepared ahead of time. But I feel as though I I'm comfortable enough with you that I can make this work. Okay, I got some questions written down, but that's just, it can go this way or this way. But um there's that. And also um I want to I want to talk about the thing you said about starting with the what did you call it?
The childhood.
Yeah, but what did you call it?
We usually start with like the childhood or their
Yeah,
early
but you
life.
said you called it something like
Oh.
it was for the archival
Oh, for
interview.
our archival interviews
Yeah,
that we
but you said that we start with a
we
childhood.
start with their childhood. We start with literally we actually the archive interviews start with what was your name at birth?
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. So I just want to clarify the archival interviews. Those were interviews you did for the Television Academy?
Yeah.
We do those for the TV
Foundation.
Academy Foundation, and they're
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours long.
Right.
And they literally start with what was your name at
Wow.
birth, and the final question is always, how would you like to be remembered? And you talk about their entire life and career in between.
Okay. And these are famous people.
Yes.
For the most
For
part.
the most part, right. In the television
Famous people,
industry.
they're in the television industry. They are in front of the camera, but there's also people
Behind the camera.
behind the camera. So they may not be famous,
Yes.
but they're
I
involved in the
understand.
television industry.
They're famous adjacent.
Yeah. So that's an art in itself because you have to make a bunch of questions sound interesting, like as an interview, but you also said something that is one of my biggest faults, interrupting people and even going, yeah, which I do, but I shouldn't because you can't get that out of there. Or maybe you can, but I can't.
Yeah.
But
It's hard.
And again, for a podcast, I think that's what makes podcasts relatable to people and accessible to people is the human element of it and the fact that it's a conversation and you might talk over each other and that's okay because it's a conversation. The archival interviews are a very specific
of course
type of interview.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're a little more rigid and it depends on who does them too. I mean, the Television Academy has a very specific way they do them. Other people don't do them as rigidly.
Sure, I understand. Okay, so let's move a little bit to one more question around this. You talk a lot about giving women the space to share. It's partly connected to the Passionista Project, but I want to just ask you this. You talk a lot about giving women the space to share their authentic, unfiltered stories. Why is that so important? And what happens in a relationship when someone finally feels safe enough to tell the truth? Because there must be you must get an aha moment or you see it in their face or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that we live in a world where people are expected to be, social media ready and have everything perfect and in place. And, oh, look at what I had for lunch. Isn't it perfect? And look at how I raised my kids. Aren't they gorgeous and perfectly buttoned up? And in reality, we all have our stuff every day that's like, oh, I'm glad no one is asking me to turn my camera around and see how messy this room is because I haven't had 10 minutes to clean it up. And then the other layer of that, our community is, very open to people from all backgrounds. So people from all different communities and experiences. And I think the only way, living in a kind of the world we live in right now, which can be very divisive and separated and contentious, we have built a space where people can come and be themselves. And, we hate to say authentic because people, that's a buzzword that gets overused, but they really can. They can come and just be like, I'm having a bad day. Anybody else dealing with this? Oh my God, I lost my job. Does anybody have any, whatever it is, like there's room for it. And also like talk about some pretty intense issues that they're dealing with. And it helps them get it out. So it's cathartic for them. It allows all of us to support them. If they didn't tell us, we wouldn't know that they needed help. But the other thing we really encourage, and this goes back to that archival interview skill, like we encourage everybody to listen before they react to anything that they might not be familiar with, and to exhibit that curiosity, like, oh, I didn't know someone from that community might be going through that experience right now, or I saw that on the news, but I didn't realize that's what it's like for someone that I personally know and have come to love. And it might cause them to look at the situation in a different way, to be more understanding, to be more open, to be supportive, and to make a difference in that friend's life and then maybe a broader societal change. And the final piece is it just allows us all to go like, oh my God, I'm not the only person going through that. Like, oh, I thought I was the only one that was in this narcissistic relationship and
Right.
finally got the courage to get out. Or I'm in a narcissistic relationship and here's someone that was in one and they got out. Oh, it's so good to hear about their journey. So there's just so many levels. If you're vulnerable and you open yourself up to actually sharing and you listen to what the other people are saying, that the ripple effect is beyond measure.
Awesome. So let's get into that a little bit. The Passionistas Project, which started as a podcast and grew into a full global sisterhood. At what point did you realize that you were building something much bigger than you originally planned? And how did your relationship with each other help you navigate through this? It's your turn, Nancy.
I think we realized it after it was built. I think especially in the beginning, we literally just did a podcast. We're like, we've been thinking for a long time about doing a podcast. We didn't really want to do another pop culture podcast or celebrity thing. We felt like that was covered, and we thought for a long time about it. And we finally realized around the time of the Me Too movement that we needed to use all our skills to help women who weren't being seen to have a voice, you know.
So
And
was the podcast originally just the two of you, or was
yes,
it?
no, it was always interviewing.
Oh,
We
it was?
always
Okay.
interviewed,
Okay.
but we realized that we wanted to just shine a light on women who weren't in the spotlight after years of interviewing celebrities.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. It was a side project. We were still doing our celebrity interviews. We still did the red carpets, but it was like, let's help these women too. And then next thing we knew, we were doing an annual summit that's a global 3-day event. It's like, oh, how did that happen? It was just, we just sort of like followed along and said, oh, let's try this, let's do that. And, we finally, in 2023, a friend of ours said, you guys are driving down the road while you're reading the map.
Isn't that a very entrepreneurial thing, Nancy?
Yeah, and maybe you should pull over,
Yeah.
take a stop, go to a rest stop, pull over, get the map out and make your plan, and then get back on the road. And we're like, oh, okay. So we did. We took almost all of 2023 and rebranded and really went back to the very, like, what are your keywords? We landed finally, it took us a while, but we landed on the sisterhood. People have always told us that they wish they had what we have. And, our undying support for one another. We have each other's backs no matter what. We have a blast together. We're there to cheer each other on and lift each other up. And we finally, in that year that we rebranded, realized that what we need to do is welcome other women into our sisterhood, continue the conversations that are happening at these summits that die off after the summit's over.
Yeah.
And really give women a chance to support each other and to be authentic with each other.
It's amazing. Did you, at any time since you started this project, did you ever marry the two, your past and your present, in that are there women that you interviewed in your jobs that supported you either monetarily or emotionally or whatever with the project? Because I just wondered, did they cross paths at all?
It's interesting. Not really the famous women, although they're more than welcome to support us financially. Should they be listening and choose to. We did give an award to Lorraine Newman, who was one of the founding members of Saturday Night Live. For people that don't know,
I knew that Jeopardy answer. I knew that.
Yeah, I knew you knew.
Yeah.
We had done her archive interview, and we gave her an icon award. We give Passionistas Project awards. So we gave her an icon award. The women that we have benefited from is, like, for example, Karen Herman, Karen was the woman who was one of two women, Karen Herman and Jenny Matz, who originally hired us to do work for the Television Academy. And they both really took a chance on us and, come and do this red carpet. We don't know how to do a red carpet. Oh, don't worry, we'll teach you. Okay, can you edit what you shot? We don't know how to edit. Don't worry, we'll show you. And that all led to Karen finally saying, do you guys want to do your first archive interview? Which is it's one of the most prestigious collections in the world.
I can imagine.
And for her to give us that opportunity was mind-boggling. And while Karen went on to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is how we started working there. But during Karen's tenure at the Academy, we probably did at least 50 of the interviews. And every interview, Karen, we would do the research, we would write the questions, and then we would sit with Karen, and she would teach us the best way to restructure the questions and to form the questions into the arc of the story. And she has been our mentor and our guiding light, along with our sister Beth, who's a Grammy-nominated, Emmy-winning documentary filmmaker. Those two really taught us how to do interviews. And so we have them constantly in our circle of friends and mentors and sources that we can go to. And just women that we've worked with, like at the TV Academy and in other spaces like that we continue to support each other and care for each other,
I think that's really wonderful. And I think it's also really telling because I don't think about it as much unless I'm talking to people like you, because you're so experienced with interviews. It would make one think, God, am I doing okay with my interview? And when I started my podcast, I just like talking to people. I didn't have the same, stress around the how to arc it and the questions and whatever. Although I must say that I've learned a little bit through getting some help from Claude, I will admit, just lately to help me. And when I put information in and I ask AI to help me develop a few questions, it asks me questions about, well, do you like this line of thing or that line or this line of questioning? And because it wants to give the story arc, and that's making sense, much more sense to me now than it ever did before. So there's a lot to doing a good interview. I know that. And I just hope that mine hold up in
You're doing fabulous.
I'm not looking for that.
Really
I'm just saying that, it does make you think, because I've also been on a guest on podcasts, and sometimes it's like they ask the same 5 questions to everybody, and or they look at, like you said, they're looking at their sheet and they can't veer from it. And I mean, it's there's skills and there's an art to it. So I understand that, but it does take a certain type of person for sure, I think. Yeah. One who's curious, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And made me think of something else I was going to ask you. Now I've forgotten. That happens when you get old. That's the part about
Oh, we know.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Someday we'll tell you about the board game we're developing, but
Oh, okay.
it's another podcast for another time.
Okay. Do you still have a podcast, right?
Yes, we do.
And has its format changed because it's now, is it with the Passionistas? Like, do you interview the people in your community or people that can help your community?
Yeah, it's the same format. We are still interviewing women who are following their passions, and that really can be anything,
Yeah.
We do interview a lot of women that are in our community, or in people we interview become part of our community. As soon as you sit down to an interview with us, you are officially a passionista. So
Okay. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. All right. For business owners in my audience who want to build a community around their work, not just a following, but a real community, where do you tell them to start?
I mean, it's all about finding your people. There are so many communities. People have so much choice. And there's not a competition. It's really like there's enough human beings on the planet. There are enough women, in our case, on the planet to go around. And it's really about who do you connect with? Our community tends to draw women who are doing it on their own or in the C-suite, but feeling like they have to be buttoned up while they're at work and can't really share with people like how they're really feeling, can't let the guard down at all. And they're looking for a place where they can have feel less alone, they can have connection, and they can meet people who understand what it's like, especially the entrepreneurs and kind of the thought leaders, activists, coaches in our community. Um, every single person in our community truly is the kind of person that asks what they can do for you before they do it. They ask what you can do for them. And in the businesses they're building, the work they're doing, the nonprofits they're starting, it's all giving back. So those are our people.
Yeah.
But if you have whatever your, tone is, whatever your offering is to the people that are around you, that's going to speak to somebody. And, you have to be patient. It takes, building a community. People told us before we started, like, it's a lot of work. And we were like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. It's a lot of work. And especially the approach we take, which is we're growing really well, but we also never want to grow to a point where we don't know who the people in the community are, because you are our family. We want to know you. We want to know, oh, they want to meet this kind of person, or they're having this issue. Who can we introduce them to? So that's just our style. But it takes a lot of effort. You really have to care about the people in your community. You have to let them know what your guidelines are so that they know what they can and can't do. Our community is really open. As long as people are nice to each other, they can pretty much do whatever they want. But it's a lot of work, but it's the rewards and the benefit are immeasurable, because nobody benefits more from being in our community than we do.
Yeah.
I would also add to that to be sure to be authentic. Whatever your message is, you can't start a community with with a fake social media persona. People will see right through it.
Yeah.
So, and we learned that lesson. Not that we were fake in the beginning, but we were guarded because we felt like we needed to be the leaders and we needed to present ourselves a certain way. And it wasn't until almost a year in, when the California wildfires were happening, a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And, we personally, thank God, were not immediately affected by it, although we knew many, many people that lost their homes. And
Mhm.
at one point during those fires, that area that we lived in was surrounded by
Right.
4 or 5 wildfires, and it was a very scary time. And a lot of people were reaching out and asking how we were, so we started to do a daily update in the Sisterhood about how we were and what was going on. And it was in that time that we realized that if we are just open books and completely authentic, good or bad, that's when the people really started getting involved in the community and really paying attention to what was going on, because we were being completely vulnerable and authentic.
Yeah.
So I think to have a successful community, you have to do that.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I was I did another interview this morning, and it was with a girl that does a lot of content writing for LinkedIn for her clients and different clients. And she does like about 100 pieces of content a month. I'm like, shoot me now, because anyway, but she's really good at what she does. And we were talking about, the authenticity being such a key point, even with that. Two things that you said. One, it takes time to build your visibility and your credibility on LinkedIn. So you have to be patient because you're building your community there the same as you would a real life community. And um, and then with your content, it people can see through it when it's boring and all the same, and maybe not even written totally by you or whatever. But yeah, she was really good. And so you're making me think the same things, that we have to learn to be patient and stay in our lane and keep being true to who we are before we do any of these things, because otherwise it doesn't work. Totally doesn't work. So I just want to ask you a few quick questions before we wrap up. I probably should have wrapped up already, but it's my show, right? Is that is there do you ever wonder, like, I mean, Nancy, you were an entrepreneur all the way along. Amy, you had a big career, and then you've opted out and started to become your own boss in that regard. Do either of you wish you'd started earlier doing the thing together? Do you ever wish that you could, do you see it would have been different, or was it laid out the way it was supposed to?
I think it happened exactly when it was
Yeah.
supposed to. And the one thing, Nancy, and it's funny, separately and once we started on this crazy journey together, because the stuff we did in between our first careers and where we are now was so any everybody talks about the year of yes. We've basically had a life of yes, where it would be like someone would say, like, can you do this? And would go, yeah, sure, we'll figure it out. Um, we've constantly along the way, we're like, why are we learning how to do that? Like at one point we were going to help someone start a cable network. Like, why are we learning that skill? Why are we learning how to be interviewers? Why does Nancy know how to do graphic design? Why do I know how to take a story and reconstruct it from what you have in front of you? And once we built the community and we have the being able to communicate with all different kinds of personalities, that is such a skill I learned from the studio system.
Yeah.
um we have our own television streaming network, Passionistas TV. Oh,
Oh,
we learned how to do the cable network.
oh my
We
goodness.
taught ourselves how to podcast. We have our podcast. We also have a podcast network. Okay, we needed to know about podcasting. Like every skill that we have amassed individually or together is now being used by us, and we can pass that on to other people in our community.
Mhm.
And it's so clear to us that the Passionistas Project and the Sisterhood and helping people write their books and the anthology chapters, it's so clearly our purpose that now everything we did together and separately makes sense. And
Mhm.
I think if we had any other taken any
Yeah.
other paths in our journey, we wouldn't have been ready for this when it finally came to us that this is what we're supposed to be doing with our lives.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? I will put in the show notes, but where would you like them to be directed?
Excellent. They can find us at thepassionistasproject.com. And if they go to thepassionistasproject.com/roadmap, they can download our 30 minutes to find your story roadmap. It's a little free gift to them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And that's the best way. Once you're on our website, then you can
Mhm.
find us on socials. You can sign up
Mhm.
for the Sisterhood, everything else.
Yeah, there's a free membership to the Sisterhood. So anybody, any woman or gender nonconforming, non-binary person that's interested in at least checking it out, you can sign up for free and poke around.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So this has been a really fun for me. It's a beautiful reminder that the most powerful thing that we can bring to our business is exactly who we already are. The Passionistas Project is living proof that when you lead with authenticity, build on trust, and make people feel genuinely seen. Hang on one second. There we go. The community takes care of itself. I am so glad that our paths crossed, and I know everyone listening is walking away with something to think about. For anyone who wants to find you, we will put the links in the show notes. And if today's conversation reminded you of a relationship in your life or your own business that deserves a little more attention, reach out to that person, because that's where it all starts. And I thank you, ladies, so much for being my guests. I'm hoping, I don't know if it's going to happen this summer or not, but I'm working on it. I'm hoping that I'll get down to LA and be able to meet you in person. So that would be so
Love that.
lovely.
We would
So
love that.
I would too. So thank you again. And remember to stay connected and be remembered.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having us.
If today's show inspired you to make a new connection, why not start with me? Head over to LinkedIn and connect with me. Be sure to let me know you are a podcast listener, because I select one listener each month who connects with me on LinkedIn for a complimentary profile audit. Don't forget to stay connected and be remembered.